Dr. Ben Carson, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Very, very good. I guess you're out there in California getting all ready for your debate, right?
Actually, I'm still in Florida.
Oh, really?
But I will be there in time.
Wow, I bet.
Not to worry.
Do you spend a few hours with your staff going over things? I guess that would be the norm, wouldn't it?
Not today. Today was a relaxation day. Getting my hair cut, seeing my dental hygienist, things like that.
Well, we all have to do those things, don't we, no matter what?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this, and I'm not going to ask you about other candidates. I'm not interested in causing fights and then sending it around the TV, and did you hear what Ben Carson said, like a lot of other hosts do? I have this question. If you were to become president, what are two of the three top things you'd want to address rather quickly?
Well, I very quickly want to call a joint session of Congress and let them know that with the Carson administration, we are once again going to put the interests of the people at the top. Because the people are supposed to be at the pinnacle, and this nation is supposed to be of, for, and by the people, with the government there simply to facilitate life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we want to go that way. Secondly, I'm very, very concerned about the economy and about the overspending. And I would declare that there will be no increases in the budget during my tenure there. Because 3 or 4 straight years of no increases will balance the budget. It's not a very complex thing. And also that we are going to have to strengthen the military. If we don't get the military right, nothing else matters. And, it's extraordinarily weak right now, and the morale is extremely low.
Let me ask you this. What kind of a person would you look for to nominate to the Supreme Court? Because, the next president may have 2, 3, 4 appointments. I don't think people are paying much attention to this.
No, I'm paying very close attention to it because if we get a progressive in there and they get 2 or 3 appointments, America is gone as we know it. I think you have to look at their judicial record. Not what they say in an interview, but what have they actually done. And, we want somebody who actually understands what the function of the judicial branch is. It's not to make law, and it's not to be activist, it's to interpret in the appropriate way.
Would you put together a group of right-thinking people to go over all these regulations that they're pushing out in the last 2 or 3 years as fast as they can in this administration and look at what you would repeal?
Absolutely. That would be a high priority also, because recognize that with this slew of regulations, every single regulation costs us in terms of goods and services. And who gets hit disproportionately by that? Poor people and the middle class. Doesn't hurt rich people that much. But, that's one of the things that's driving the income gap. You're not going to hear Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders talking about that. They just say, let's take the money from the rich. But I've got news for them. You can take all the money from the top 1%, and it will not solve our problem.
Now, Dr. Carson, I think Barack Obama has done a great disservice to the country in many ways, but particularly in the area of race. He's a man that could have done even more to bring this country together. If you were president, what would you do to kind of reverse what Obama has done in this regard?
Well, one of the reasons I think that there's so much racial strife is because there's been a whole lot of change, but not a whole lot of hope. And, I want people to actually be able to get good jobs and to recognize that there is a way out and that you don't have to be dependent. One of the quickest ways to do that, I think, is to declare a 6-month corporate tax holiday on the $2+ trillion that's sitting overseas so that we could repatriate that money without costing the American taxpayer 1 red cent. Require that 10% of it be used to provide jobs for people who are unemployed and on welfare. That would be the kind of stimulus that we haven't seen since FDR, and it wouldn't cost us 1 penny. And it also gives business, industry, academia, Wall Street used once again to the ideal that they used to incorporate in their thinking of investing in the community, investing in people around them. Because it's really our duty as the private sector, and it's not the government's duty. The government can't do it. They're totally irresponsible, and they've spent $19 trillion in the last half a century trying to eradicate poverty and have only made it worse.
Apparently, by the way, Bernie Sanders has his proposals, they were all added up, I think, by the Cato Institute. They come to about $18 trillion. This is what I don't understand. They talk about taxing the rich. We have unfunded liabilities, sir, of over $200 trillion, according to a number of experts who testified, economists, serious people. If we took every penny out of the private sector for the next 10 years, there wouldn't be enough money to cover that.
Of course not. And the only way that we fix those kinds of things is we have to release the most dynamic economic engine the world has ever known. And the way to do that is to get rid of these excessive regulations and reform the tax code and create an environment that encourages entrepreneurial risk-taking and capital investment. That is the fuel of capitalism, and it has provided much better a lifestyle for a much larger number of people than any other system in the world.
What about this Iran deal? How do you see yourself addressing that?
Well, first of all, it was a pretty awful thing. I'm not exactly sure how we allow ourselves to be bamboozled into an executive deal when it should have been a treaty, which would have required 2/3 Senate approval. But be that as it may, it does not disassemble the nuclear structure that they have, and basically guarantees that they're going to have intercontinental ballistic missiles probably in less than 8 years, and they're going to develop their nuclear capabilities so that our children and our grandchildren are going to be extremely unsafe.
Would you resubmit it to the Senate as a treaty?
Well, first of all, recognize that as soon as Obama leaves office, it is of no consequences because it was an executive order. But yes, I would work with the Senate because, they represent the people and the will of the people, and the vast majority of people in this country think that this is a horrendous deal. So why in the world would we even begin to honor it?
Would one of your priorities be to secure the border as quickly as possible with physical barriers wherever needed?
Yeah, you have to use what works. There had like Yuma, that area, they put in a double fence with a road between the two fences so that there's quick and easy access. And they put personnel at the actual border, and they decreased the flow by 97%. I mean, why don't we look at things that work and then duplicate those things? And I believe we could fill the border in less than a year.
Mm-hmm. You, in virtually every poll, we only have a minute left. You're the top tier. You're always like number 2 and a strong number 2. How are you getting your message out? You're not the wealthiest of the candidates. Is it through free media, word of mouth, or what?
Well, we are using social media. We have, millions more than the other people running, and people are excited, and they're passing the information on to others. And when people have an opportunity for themselves to hear what I'm talking about, as opposed to what the left-wing media tries to portray me as, they recognize common sense.
All right, Dr. Carson, good luck tomorrow. It's been a pleasure having you. God bless you, sir.
Always good being with you. Thank you.
All right, take care. Here he goes, Dr. Ben Carson. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall return.